What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium spoiler talk for Avengers Endgame. Now, if you have better seen the movie by now, if you're going to watch this video, if you're not, why are you watching it? Go see Avengers Endgame, watch my non spoiler review for what my initial thoughts were on this movie, but we're going to go deep into this movie. This movie is insane and it's beautiful and it's just gorgeous to watch. And this movie starts out with everybody has been disintegrated. Thanos' snap worked. You know, the people are trying to pick up the pieces. Captain America, Thor, Tony Stark is lost in space. You know, he is basically almost about ready to die. And then Captain Marvel saves him, brings him back to Earth. And they figure out where Thanos is. So they go to the planet and he basically explains that the Infinity Stones are gone, that they've been disintegrated because there's no use for them anymore. And Thor does what he should have done in the first Infinity War and chops off Thanos' head. So this happens within like the first 20 minutes of the movie. It's pretty crazy. And of course, Jeremy Renner's family gets disintegrated. That's like the start of the movie. But this movie is exactly what you think it is in the process of they have to go find the Infinity Stones. But how they have to do that is Scott Lang comes back from the quantum realm because some rat had pressed buttons to allow him to come back, but he thinks he's only been gone 5 hours. But after they've killed Thanos, the movie shifts 5 years. So Scott Lang has been gone for 5 years, and he goes to the Avengers facility. He explains, the whole idea about time travel, which is something that's been rumored for a long time, and you know that's an interesting thing because the quantum realm has always been hinted at as something that could be used to take down Thanos. So Tony Stark is pissed off at, Chris Evans is Steve Rogers, and with many just reasons because of the whole Civil War thing. And it's an interesting thing to watch, because after 5 years, Robert Downey Jr. has had a kid. He's married to Pepper Potts. He's moved on with his life. And he's given the opportunity to go back and save everyone that's been dusted. He's so emotionally wrecked from what happened to Peter Parker that he decides he's going to figure out how to bring back time, because the whole idea of time travel is almost impossible. But Tony Stark figures it out because, Hulk and, because Bruce Banner has figured out how to make Hulk, and, Bruce Banner won. So he looks like Hulk, but he talks like Bruce Banner. And they've been experimenting on trying to figure out how to transport someone to the future and, bring them back and so on and so forth. And when Tony Stark figures it out, they go on a mission to collect all the Infinity Stones. So what they're going to do is go to the points in the past of all the MCU movies. They're going to go to Vormir. They're going to go to New York City. They're going to go to the place where Peter Quill goes to get his stone. They're going to go to all these places and get these stones back. And they each break up in groups. Thor and Rocket go to Asgard. And then you have Tony, Cap, and Ant-Man. They go to the Battle of New York. And you have Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow and Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye. And they go to Vormir. And then Nebula and Don Cheadle's Rhodey go to the planet that Peter Quill is. And as this is happening, as they're starting to collect the stones, Nebula sends a signal by accident to Thanos, is because they're all in the same. It's like the whole time cop thing where you can't be in the same space type of scenario. But when Nebula goes back to because she's more of a robot, she sends a signal to Thanos, and Thanos, instead of searching for the stones, has the ability now to find the stones. He is given the ability to basically, he's going to travel through time to, because all the stones are going to be collected, and it's going to make it much easier for him. So okay, so that plays out, and then they collect the stones and so on and so forth, and then you get to the scenario of the very end of the movie, and I'll get into that in a minute because there's a lot to talk about. But the first half of this movie is very slow. It's very methodical. It's very, it's the way to process what happened. Thor basically has just collapsed as a human being or as an Asgardian. He has become a Lebowski style character where all he does is drink. He's out of shape now. And he basically wants nothing to do with anything. He's very just who he is, and he's just not the Thor you remember. And there's very, very good reason for that. He didn't do what he planned on doing, which was killing Thanos, and it broke him down. And and then you have the Tony Stark going to have a kid, and then Captain America's dealing with the fallout in his own way. How he has a group with them, like a coping mechanism group. And then you have like the Carol Danvers, and you have Rhodey, and you have the characters in Wakanda. They're all taken care of, trying to find, trying to pick up the pieces of everything that happens. And then, of course, like I said, when Ant-Man comes back and he heals the whole quantum realm thing, they go to the different time periods, and all that stuff is really fun to watch because you're seeing things that are playing after the main thing happens. So, for instance, when they go to the Battle of New York, you see everything that happens after they have captured Loki. You see Crossbones. You see Robert Redford's character appears. You see all the characters that are part of Hydra. Captain America, of course, fights himself, which is a lot of fun. You have Hulk, Bruce Banner's character, seeing Hulk do his thing. And they're trying to take the Tesseract, but what happens is they fail because the Hulk is taking the stairs, which is a really funny scene. He knocks, because Robert Downey Jr.'s future Tony Stark has taken the Tesseract from the crew, and he is dealing with that, and then the Loki gets a hold of the Tesseract, and then disappears, leading to a problem of a time whatever vortex or whatever you want to call it, time issue. And so they have to go, Tony Stark and Captain America, Steve Rogers, they had to go back to the 1970s because if you remember Winter Soldier, there was the whole bunker thing, and that's where Hydra was secretly hiding out with Zoloft, and so that's another way to get the Tesseract so that Loki doesn't steal it, so they can get it back to present day. And so they're dealing with that, and then Howard Stark shows up, Peggy Carter shows up, all these characters show up. They are able to get the Tesseract, and they go back to the future, which is funny because this movie's like a Back to the Future mode. And then on the other side, you have the Vormir stuff where you have, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow and Jeremy Renner's character Hawkeye. They go to Vormir where they meet the Red Skull. He's like, you have to sacrifice a soul for a soul. And the two start fighting it out about who's going to sacrifice themselves to get the Soul Stone. And of course, Black Widow is the one that sacrifices herself, and she's dead. It's kind of crazy to think about that, how the Black Widow movie is going to play out, because if she's dead, which is what they said is permanent, she's dead. Scarlett Johansson is the first big death in this movie, and it's pretty crazy to think about. And so that whole scenario is coming back. They all come back from the present. Nebula has been captured by Thanos because the other Nebula has taken her prisoner, and they devise Thanos and his Black Order group, his Children of Thanos. They devise a plan to basically go back into the future to get the Infinity Stones and to snap the snap the universe once again back in half. And so they land back in the Avengers facility. They do all that stuff where they put the Infinity Stones onto Iron Man's glove. But the problem is they gotta find someone, since they gotta find someone who's powerful enough to handle the glove. And of course, Thor, who thinks he's the best, is out of shape and he's just not worthy enough. And that's a really interesting thing to talk about because Thor goes back to Asgard during the Dark World scenario. I don't know if Natalie Portman was actually filmed some stuff in the movie, but she's in the movie. But Thor gets to have a chance to see his mother for the last time, who's played by Rene Russo. And it's a really touching moment. It really gives Thor clarity because he's in such dire straits. Everything that he is, been going through after everything that happened in Infinity War, it just, even though I think his character gets a little too much in the end, he's just a fun character. He gets both Stormbreaker and he gets Mjolnir back, which is really awesome. And it's just, that whole segment is really fascinating because it's basically paying fan services, giving you every character that's been in every Marvel movie to kind of just close out that portion, to give you remembrance of everything that happened in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Battle of New York, and to a lesser extent Thor: The Dark World, and Vormir, all that good stuff. So you're seeing things that you come back and remember. And then, like I said, they all get back. Iron Man, they put all the Infinity Stones into the Iron Man glove. And instead of Thor doing the snap to bring everybody back, the Hulk does it. Bruce Banner, because he's the strongest person at this moment. So he does it. They snap, and I'm guessing at that point everybody has come back from the snap, and everybody's confused because that's what happens. Peter Parker says, they disappeared. Next thing they know, they were back, and it's 5 years later, and so on and so forth. But we'll get to that in a minute. But because of what the past Nebula, has done, she has brought Thanos to the future, and he's basically going to attack the Avengers facility, and that's when the epic last hour of this movie happens, which is one of the craziest things ever put on screen for a comic book movie. It's going to go down as one of the greatest things ever, and especially in the MCU. And what it does is they pretty much he blows up the facility, everybody's in shambles, but everybody starts fighting Thanos. You got Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man fighting Thanos and trying to take him down. But of course, Thanos is a powerful being, and they're doing everything they can. And then there's a moment where Thor gets put down. He's almost killed, and then you see Mjolnir just start to levitate, and it goes past, or it hits Thanos, and then it goes back, and the person it goes back to, I jumped out of my seat for, because it was so epic, and it was so well placed, and it was so emotionally amazing. And that person is Captain America. You saw this in Avengers Age of Ultron, where he almost picked up Mjolnir, but he wasn't as worthy. This is the moment where Captain America truly became one of my favorite characters in comic book movie lore. The idea that Captain America was a guy that had he was that kid who really wanted to help people, really wanted to do things for people, really wanted to protect the people, and to see him get that hammer, to get the ability to just like go all out on Thanos after everything that Thanos has done. It's like it hits you right in the gut of just how impactful Steve Rogers was as a character, and is as a character. And he, just to see him use the lightning, just to see him use the hammer to just go crazy, the fact that he gets to use it at the very end, he takes it with him. There's a funny scene between him and Thor when they're fighting in the epic battle, and he's going to go take Stormbreaker, and Thor's like, no, you take the small one. And that stuff is just emotionally fun and just engaging, and it grabs you and just pulls you, and it's such a good moment. And I'll talk about another moment here in a second that actually is gonna make me cry. But then you get to the epic battle sequence, which takes place in the last hour. Like I said, Thanos has destroyed the Avengers facility, and he's basically, they're fighting each other. And then it gets to a moment where you see a portal open, and you automatically realize it's Doctor Strange's, like, the portal that he uses. And then Black Panther and Shuri come out of that portal, and then you just realize, holy crap, it's about to go down, and it's about to get real. And then a whole bunch of other portals open, and you see, in essence, every Marvel cinematic hero come out of those portals. You see Valkyrie, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, you see Wong, you see Pepper Potts, you see everybody. There's so many characters coming out of it that were involved in the snap. Sam Wilson and Bucky and Groot and the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for. This is everything. This is our stand. This is almost a thank you from the Russo brothers and Marvel and Kevin Feige for standing so long with these movies, because it's been 10 years, it's been 22 movies or 23 movies. I don't know how many movies it was, but I know it's a lot. And Thanos, of course, has his army, like I said, and they go to all out war, and it's a war on epic proportions. It's gritty, it's dark, I will admit that it does buckle sometimes where there's a lot going on, there's too much going on. But just to see these characters get their due, get their fun, get their fight moments. Spider-Man, he uses his tendrils that he has in the back of his Iron Spider suit to basically, take down creatures. He puts it in death mode, which is really funny. You see Valkyrie flying on her thing, on her unicorn or whatever it's called. You see Captain Marvel take down Thanos' ship. You see Bucky get his due. You see Drax take down a couple creatures. You just see all of everyone that you've ever loved just get their moment in the sun, and it's so beautiful to watch. It makes you jump with joy, and then you get to the moment where Captain Marvel appears because Thanos has gotten the glove, and she destroys Thanos' ship. It crashes in the lake. She goes down and tries to get because it's like Infinity War. She's trying to get the glove, and Thanos like punches her, but it does nothing. So he rips off the Power Stone, and then he punches her, and she just flies back. But then there's the moment where all the female characters all group together and attack Thanos, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just such emotional, resonant, impactful, just beautiful thing. And then after everything's said and done, after the battle's pretty much complete, people have died, creatures have died, so on and so forth. Thanos has the glove, the gauntlet. Captain Marvel's trying to take it down. Then Iron Man sees Doctor Strange and he puts up his finger. He goes like this, and Tony Stark kind of gets the idea of what's going on. So he attacks Thanos like he did in Infinity War. Thanos takes him out because Tony Stark, in essence, is not superhuman. He's still a human being. And he goes and snaps. Thanos does the snap, but nothing happens. And when you remember the whole sequence where they put the Infinity Stones in the glove, the Iron Man glove, well, when you see Tony Stark, you see the Iron Man glove with the Power Stones. Thanos realizes what's happening, and Tony Stark, like he did in the original movie, goes, "I am Iron Man," and does a snap. And at that point, Thanos is screwed. Everybody in his order, his children of Thanos, the Shatari, everybody who's involved with all these incidents are dusted. They're completely wiped off the face of the earth. They're just wiped out of existence. And then Thanos gets that look. He sits down because he knows what's going to happen. And he is dusted. He's gone. And that's the end of Thanos. He's like Voldemort. He's just gone. But as we see, that much power, especially when you see Hulk later on with the burned hand, it kills Tony Stark. Is in essence of what happens in Infinity War, where he is ridden by guilt because of what happened to Peter Parker. Peter Parker runs over to him and he watches Iron Man die, and it's it's really sad to see. It's really because I was hoping that maybe he would be more of a be a surrogate later on, maybe in some of these movies, but I think what's going to happen in Far From Home is the payoff is going to be emotional, chaotic. It's gonna affect Peter Parker to an extent where he's never going to be the same, and you can see it when he goes to the school and he sees Ned and he realizes that nothing's going to be the same anymore because of what happened. And it's a beautiful thing to see. It's very heartbreaking. And then when you see the funeral and you see everybody who's ever been in an MCU movie appear, and you see Ty Simpkins, who was in Iron Man 3 there, and it's so good and it's so heartbreaking, but it's so emotionally well done that it's beautiful. And then the thing that I think my favorite moment outside of the Captain America and the hammer is he's going to go back and take all the Infinity Stones back to where they need to be, and they're going to bring him back so he can live his life, but he doesn't come back. Bruce Banner tries to get him to come back. Tries to get him back, but he doesn't come back. And Sam and Bucky see old man on the bench, and you realize that Steve Rogers basically lived his life in the time that he should have. He's an old man now. he's lived a lifetime of adventure. Growing up, like Tony Stark said, you should have an experience. You should be there. And he gives the shield to Sam Wilson. Sam Wilson is one of my favorite characters in the MCU because he's a guy that really helps people, and he's a good way to pat us on the mantle for the Captain America character. And he asks, because he sees the ring and we know where this is going. He's like, can you tell me about the girl? And he's like, no, not going to. And then the thing that made me cry the most, and I'm sorry it did, is the very end shot of this movie. We see Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter dancing, and yeah, it's beautiful, man. It's everything. It's everything you wanted out of the MCU, and it's beautiful. The movie is amazing, and it's everything you wanted out of a Marvel movie. But yeah, it's guys, go see the movie. That's all I'm gonna say. It's hard to talk about. Everybody gets a great moment in this movie. Pepper Potts finally gets to wear an Iron Man suit, which she did in Iron Man 3, but it's just beautiful, and everything about this movie is beautiful. And like I said, it does have its shortcomings. The stuff in the middle does struggle a little bit under its own weight. They probably could have cut off. Honestly, when Thor kills Thanos, I think that could have been cut and just started with Captain America and the whole him everybody trying to move on. But they had to give Thor his reckoning, not reckoning, but Thanos' reckoning for what he did. But the rest of the movie is just beautiful. It's wonderful. And like I said in my non-spoiler review, Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers and Taika Waititi, Jon Favreau, Kenneth Branagh, Joe Johnston, everybody should be commended for what they did. And I gotta give credit out to Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Mark Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner. And then you have all the other characters. Chris Pratt. There's so many characters, but the original Samuel Jackson, Kobe Smoders, all these guys, they're fantastic. So it's beautiful. But there you go. That's my long take on the spoiler version of Avengers Endgame. It's a movie that is worth seeing. I'll probably go see it again a couple more times because you just have a lot of emotions coming out of it. And I want to go back and see what I missed because you miss a lot, especially in that last battle. There's a lot to take in, and I kind of want to see other moments. It's kind of like the Ready Player One battle in a way. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Comment below what your favorite moment was in Avengers Endgame. What really brought this movie to a head for you, good or bad. Tell me if there's anything bad you didn't like in this movie or you hated in this movie. But tell me what you liked about the movie because I'd be interested to know. And yes, comment below, unlike my non-spoiler review. If you comment, just comment on what you thought about the movie, just not, the spoilers. But here you can talk about spoilers. So, but anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace out, guys. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.